Alright, today we're going to learn how to sew on a button. As you can see, I have an example here that I've already done, and it is nice and flat and lays even with the fabric. And on the back, all you see is one little stitch. It doesn't look all crazy with a bunch of different little stitches on the back. There is one little nice stitch on the back there. So when you are done, that's what yours should look like on the back, preferably. Obviously, your first time may not look perfect. So I'm going to go ahead and show you how to do that. Alright, so in order to do this, you need some fabric, you need a needle, you need some thread, you need buttons and clippers. Okay? So, we'll start off by threading our needle with some thread. The thread that I have here is the width of your table. So if you go the short distance across the table, that is how long you need your thread. Okay, you're going to go ahead and thread that into your needle and pull that through, and then you're going to match the ends of your thread. Okay, these match here at the very back. Once they're matched, you need to tie them into a knot. If you don't know how to tie a knot, just think of tying a water balloon or a regular birthday balloon, and that's how you will do it. So if you need some help with that, you can wrap it around your fingers to get a nice loop, and then pull it off there so you have your loop. And then you tuck these extra threads through the loop, and if you do it more than once, you will get a bigger knot. So I like to wrap mine at least 3 times around through the loop in order to get a nice big knot. Okay, pull that tight, and as you pull it tight, you try and move it towards the edge of the thread rather than leaving it in the middle of the thread. Try and pull your knot towards the end. Okay? Once that's ready to go, you can go ahead and make your first stitch onto the fabric. We start at the top of our fabric, and you're going to go down and up, making a stitch, just like when you're putting in a pin. You go down and up through the fabric, making sure you go through both layers. As you can see, my needle goes through both layers of the fabric, and you're going to go ahead and pull this stitch all the way through. Before you hit the knot, you can go ahead and leave it a little bit loose. You're going to separate the 2 threads from each other before the knot, and you're going to pass the needle just between those threads. Okay? The reason we're doing that is because that will keep your thread from getting pulled through the fabric. If you yank it really hard and you didn't go between there, that could pull the knot right through your fabric. So we just go right between there, and now it will never get pulled through your fabric. If anything, you would just rip a hole in your fabric, and you'd have to pull pretty hard to do that. Alright, your next step is going to be to put your button on. So you're going to go ahead and go up through one side of your button and down through the other side of your button, making sure not to tangle your thread on anything, and you can go ahead and pull that up right close to your fabric. Now you may need to move it to the side just a little bit so that you can see where your stitch was. Now if you came up on this side, you're going to go down on the other side. You always want to go up and down on the same side of your stitches. Okay, and go ahead and pull that tight so that your button sits flat onto the fabric. Now if I look underneath, sorry, I kind of pulled it out of the video there. If you look underneath, you can see it just goes up on this side, down on that side, and straight into the fabric. It's not twisted around under there. Sometimes if you're not careful, it'll look like that. You do not want it to look like that, so make sure that you untwist it so that it's nice and straight underneath. Go ahead and pull that tight. Okay, now if you look underneath, you will see, lift it up so you can see this. Okay, you'll see that I have a stitch here, and I've come up or come down through my fabric on this side, so now I need to go up through my fabric on this side. So I'm going to go straight up and push my needle through the fabric right there, and if I flip my fabric over, I've come up right through the hole of my button. And you can pull that tight, and then you'll go straight down through the opposite side again, and you'll go up and down like this at least 3 times. 3 or 4 is good. You don't want to do much more than that, or you'll just get a bulk of thread. Okay, so up and down 3 times. Okay, do one more stitch here. Notice I'm coming up on this side and going down on the opposite, or excuse me, going down on this side and coming up on the other side. Every single time I'm going in the same spot. Alright, I'll go down one more time here, and then we'll be ready to make our final knot. Alright, in order to do that, we're going to go up through our fabric one last time, but this time, instead of going through the hole of our button, we are just going to go up between the fabric and our button. So as you can see, I'm just coming up between my fabric and my button. So I fold it back and just pull it tight through there. And now I'm going to make a knot. In order to do that, I'm going to loop it around and then sew through the loop. But you got to make sure your loop goes around your button and pull that tight. Okay? Loop, sew through the loop. Pull it tight. Okay, loop around and sew through the loop and pull it tight. Alright, do that 3 times. If you want to give it a 4th just for good measure, go for it. I'll show you one more time. Go through the, sew around, go through the loop, and pull it tight. Alright, then you can go ahead and trim this thread so that it's underneath your button and hiding, and trim your original threads so that they are hiding underneath your button. One of them got looped up so it's curled under there, which is just fine as long as it's not showing. And there you have it, a nice flat button, okay, with only 1 stitch on the back. Now I'll show you how to do that in super quick mode here without much talk. So my needle is already threaded. I can just retie my knot on the end really quick. Alright, that's ready to go. I'll go ahead and make a quick stitch on the top of my fabric, remember. Before I pull it all the way through, I will go through between my 2 threads before going to the knot. And I'm going to go ahead and clip this one before I sew. That way it'll be easier than at the end. Alright, now I've got my stitch, and I'm going to go ahead and go up and down through my button. And I'm going to go ahead and have my heart facing you guys on this one, and down through my original stitch. Pull that tight. Hold that flat to the fabric, flip it over, push it through. Okay. Pull it firm, go back down through my original stitch. Go back up through my original stitch and down and up. Flip it over and down one more, and I'm ready to tie tie a knot. So this time, instead of coming up all the way, I'm going to go ahead and come up between the fabric and the button with my needle, and I'm going to loop around and go through the loop. Pull tight. Loop around under my button, go through the loop, and pull tight. Flip that around so you can see it a little bit better this time. Flip it around, go through the loop, and pull tight. And one more for good measure, just sense of visibility on the movie. Go around the button, making sure you're getting underneath the button, looping all the way around, and go through the loop that you just made. There you go. Pull that tight. Clip your threads. Make sure you don't accidentally clip your fabric as well. Check the back. Make sure you've got one nice little stitch on the back and it's laying flat, and you are good to go. Enjoy sewing on buttons.